Hey everybody, Tom Barnes here. Stories from the 78. It's not often that you get to talk to a living legend. And when I mean living legend, I'm talking a living legend, especially within the blues community in Chicago. I'm talking about legendary harmonica player Billy Branch. He's been doing it for over 50 years. He has been all over the world, to China, to South and Central America, all over Europe, Africa, spreading the gospel that is blues. It's Chicago blues. And he started off with Willie Dixon. And if you know anything about Chicago blues and history, Willie Dixon has the Willie Dixon Foundation. That is where the old Chess Records is on Michigan Avenue. The same Chess Records where the Rolling Stones wanted to come and play because of the Chicago blues scene. That's why this is a great story to tell. And my friend Billy has an album coming out the 21st of this month, and he joins me now for this story from the 70s. Billy Branch, sir, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Tom.
Hey, congratulations on the album release that is happening this week. First one off of a new record company for you.
Yes, this is the inaugural release for the newly launched Rosas Lounge Records.
That's pretty great. I imagine it's a huge honor to be the inaugural release of a record on a record company. No pressure, huh?
Yeah, well, I've got history. You know, Rosas Lounge is one of the now iconic Chicago blues spots, and I opened it up. I played the grand opening 42 years ago.
Man.
So I have a standing relationship with the owner, Tony Mangiulo, and he and his wife are the CEOs of the company. And my wife and I have a small percentage of the company as well.
Well, I can't think of a better fit, and it makes sense. You know what I mean? Some things just make sense in the world. That seems like it makes sense for everybody involved, no?
Right.
You mentioned, oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and what's unique about this, Tom, is that as an artist, I have a say-so in the decision-making process on most of the levels. And that's refreshing. It's unique. As a rule, that doesn't happen. And so they have created a model to make it user-friendly to artists, and to make sure that the artist is being treated fairly and equitably.
Which is something that the record industry has slowly, I think almost forcefully had to have changed over the last probably your entire career. I imagine your first record, much different on the terms for this record, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
because my very first record that I appeared on an album, I never received one penny.
Man.
But you're young, you chalk it up to, it was just when your name hasn't appeared on a record before, you're excited just for that to happen. So I don't bear any ill feelings about that.
Well, good for you. That makes you, probably a better person than some in the world, as far as not holding a grudge.
Yeah.
I always say I don't hold a grudge. I just don't forget some, I just don't forget. Right. But we're talking about the new album, The Blues Is My Biography. And it is truly that. In the writing process, I was reading some of the liner notes of the different songs, but there's a lot of different sounds. And I imagine it's exciting for you to explore those different sounds as you've been doing this for the better part of 50 years.
Yes.
And that's an incredible time to do anything in life. And to be able to be where you are now, to make an album the way you want to. Just walk us through a little bit of, the types of sounds that people might hear that might surprise them a little bit coming from a Billy Branch album.
Well, this as we've been advertising as of late, this is probably my most personal project the blues, app title, The Blues Is My Biography.
Mhm.
Not to suggest that every song has a personal biographical reference, but this album, as you mentioned, it displays an array of musical styles and settings that I've actually been playing all my life. But this is the one project to put it in one, to compartmentalize it in one product. So we have, for example, um, the opening cut, "Hole in Your Soul," with uh, my very good friend, the legendary Bobby Rush,
Yeah,
um, which is, it's a blues, it's an upbeat blues, and you know, kind of on the fringe R&B. But then we do have R&B when I did Lou Rawls's Dead End Street. We have reggae with the Ballad of the Million Men.
love
We
it.
have How You Living, which I guess could be aptly described as a hip hop blues, if you know.
Yeah, well, hey, it's your album. You get to say whatever you want.
So uh, I'm really, um, I'm really more than satisfied with the way it came out. Um, my musicians, the Sons of Blues, did a phenomenal job. I worked with my producer Larry Batiste, who's
Hmm.
based out of Oakland, who's worked with some of the top musicians in the world: Santana, Stevie Wonder, so many people.
Well, so have
And
you.
yeah, well, now me, yeah. But he just did a wonderful job because, and he and I struck up. We just met at the the BMAs, the Blues Music Awards, just a couple of
Hmm.
years ago, and I had been trying to get this album produced, and I met him. We struck up a conversation, and before we know it, there we were. I flew to Oakland about 4 or 5 times. He flew here to Chicago, and of the 11 tracks, 4 were recorded in Oakland with his crew, and then 7 with my band, the Sons of Blues, here in Chicago.
And that Sons of Blues band, 15 albums you guys have recorded.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
thereabouts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Sons of Blues originally was formed in 1977. And our very first gig, very first time getting paid, was at the Berlin Jazz Festival. And the members at that time, except for myself, were all the sons of famous blues musicians. So
Interesting.
this was at the Berlin Jazz Festival. We were accompanied with Willie Dixon, who I was his harmonica player for 6 years. So we had
Man,
the
oh
son
man.
of
That's some
Willie
blues
Dixon.
royalty all in one there.
Yeah, we had Willie Dixon's son, Freddie, on the bass. Had Carrie Bell's son, on guitar, and the drummer was the son of Garland Whiteside. I mean, the son of Clifton James. His name was Garland Whiteside. Clifton James was Bo Diddley's original drummer and
Wow.
Willie Dixon's current drummer at the time. So everyone except for me was the son of a famous blues musician, but I came up with the name.
Well,
And
that matters for sure.
and over the years, the personnel has changed, but I always kept a really tight, top quality rhythm section. And matter of fact, with this lineup, my current lineup is Giles Corey on guitar, uh, Sumito Arioshi on piano,
Hmm. Hmm.
Ari Cedar on bass, Deontay Skinner on drums. We were voted in the Chicago Reader, which is, the go-to guide for entertainment and various articles,
Absolutely.
the number one blues band in Chicago for the last 2 consecutive years.
That's amazing. Congratulations. And that's just like one small feather in a hat full of hundreds, if not thousands of feathers. I mean, you mentioned, which is crazy to me, that the first time you were paid with as that band was you had to go to Germany to do it.
Yeah, yeah,
And you've been all over. You've been to China, you've been to Australia, Africa, Europe. I mean,
yeah.
Central and
South
South
America.
America. I mean,
Mhm.
you have like carried this torch, if you will. Very Chicago of you, by the way, to carry
Mhm.
this torch of the Chicago blues and be an ambassador of Chicago blues to the rest of the world. And I just wanted to ask, like, why is that so important to you? You mentioned Willie Dixon, which obviously if people know their blues, they know Willie Dixon and his connection to like Chess Records and the Willie Dixon foundation down there now. But why is it so important for
Well,
you? Oh, go ahead.
no, no. I'm just going to add, and of course, Willie Dixon was one of the most prolific American songwriters, not only writing for, as you said, the chess record artists like Howlin' Wolf, Muddy Waters, Little
Hmm.
Walter, Sonny Boy Williams, and Chuck Berry, and so many others, but the the whole rock high echelon recorded Dixon's songs as well as pop artists and other artists. I mean, from the Stones to Cream, Led Zeppelin, Hendrix, Janis Joplin. Willie Dixon has not really been recognized for being as prolific as he was as a songwriter. But yes, and it I credit my tenure with Willie Dixon as giving me the inspiration and vision because I do blues in schools as well. I've done that for almost 50 years. But it's important, Willie, he ate, slept, and breathed the blues, and he was always preaching the importance of the blues. The blues are the roots. All the rest of America's music is the fruits, which is true, which a lot of people are really not aware of.
Which
That
is crazy that they don't
all of
know that.
America's music, including country, came out of the blues.
Absolutely.
And so, in that regard, it's very important. I've always felt a drive to. I always felt that more people should be aware of the blues because even me, when I first heard the blues, I know the exact date
You
because an
do.
article was written in the Chicago Sun-Times by Jeff Johnson, who was then the blues writer. And basically, the article was, "This is the first day Billy Branch heard the blues." That was August 30th, 1969.
Oh, man.
And that was a festival that Willie Dixon put on, which he produced it with Murphy Dunn, who was the son of the elder Mayor Daley's political ally, George Dunn.
Mm,
And I think this was an effort to kind of erase the blemish of the 68 Democratic Convention
yeah.
in Chicago, which you probably have heard about, when the elder Daley had issued the order for the cops shoot to kill. And
Yeah.
it was just
Landmark.
terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 69, Murphy Dunn approached Willie Dixon, and Willie Dixon assembled all these musicians and provided the backup band. So the first day I ever heard the blues, Muddy Waters,
Mm.
Buddy Guy, Junior Wells, Sleepy John Estes, Big Mama Thornton, Bo Diddley, Homesick James, Jimmy Dawkins, um, Coco Taylor. It was like 40 legendary names.
Wait, and Big Mama Thornton, correct me if I'm wrong. Did she write You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog?
She didn't write it,
Or she
but she
recorded
was the
before
first
Elvis?
one to record it. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
And it's an
and
incredible version.
yes, and this was the first day I heard the blues, and in my mind, as a 17-year-old teenager, I didn't like the blues. I didn't know anything about it,
You didn't like
but
it.
to show you what a profound effect 7 years later, I was Willie Dixon's harmonica player.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah,
And you first found the harmonica. You mentioned you didn't like blues when you first heard
right.
it. So you were about 10 years old when I was reading about you a little bit and how
Yeah,
you bought it at Woolworths,
yeah.
your first harmonica. So what were you doing between 10 and 17? What were you playing?
I was playing folk songs and Christmas carols and just making up stuff. But the interesting thing about it is what I went to this Woolworths five and dime store.
What neighborhood?
This was I was born here but grew up in L.A. This is in Los
Okay.
Angeles,
All right.
and walked into the Woolworths, saw this beautiful shiny harmonica, and had a box and it pulled apart like that. It was called a Valencia harmonica. It
Hmm.
was a folk harmonica with the double reed, two tiers, and it was curved. I looked that up to make sure I remembered that right.
I
And
appreciate it.
I never heard anyone play one live or saw anyone, but a little voice told me I could play it. So I asked the clerk how much it was. He said $1. I happened to have $1. As soon as I put it in my mouth, I could play any folk melody or Christmas carol I could think of immediately.
Wow, incredible. Must be nice to have that gift.
Yeah. So I kept that harmonica with me
Mm.
until I returned back to my birthplace, Chicago, right before I entered my studies at University of Illinois. And at that time, the blues was everywhere on the south and west sides in the black neighborhoods.
Hmm.
And then, gradually it moved to the more affluent neighborhoods where most of the clubs are now. But I just got there right under the wire to be able to learn from these great masters and be befriended. I played Coco Taylor and Junior Wells and Buddy Guy, and there was just hundreds of great artists there. And sadly, they're all gone.
It is sad, but that's why it's great to talk about them. And even, I don't know, this is a little stretch for me here, but go with me if you would. Even in
Mm.
the movie that came out earlier this year, it was a horror movie, but
Yo,
The Sinners is the movie I'm talking
yeah,
about with Michael
yeah,
B. Jordan, and Buddy Guy is in that
yeah,
movie, and the Chicago Blues is all over that movie.
yeah,
And I feel like that elevated that movie to a place I never thought when I first heard about it, never even would even had an inkling of where it would go. And
yeah,
because of all that, I thought that movie was excellent because it gave props to what Chicago blues music really meant to people at that time and now.
I agree. Um, I'm of the mind lately that there is a resurgence in blues. You're seeing especially a lot of youngsters um, entering the fray, and a lot of young African American. Kingfish, of course, but you have
Mm.
people like Harrell Davenport, D.K. Harrell. You got Southern Avenue. Which is so refreshing and inspiring to me because, like I said, I started teaching blues in school since 1978, and I still am. Matter of fact, I got a residency. I go in tomorrow, every Tuesday and Thursday. Um, but it's like I planted the seeds. I might not have had the direct contact with a lot of these youngsters, but I've been sowing the seeds, so I feel a part of that, and it's very uplifting.
Well, and I imagine you feeling a part of it is reflected in the album that you have coming out with all the different kinds of genres within the genre of blues. Even you, one of the songs, the first one you talked about, "Hole in Your Soul," got the
Mm.
idea because of a DJ that used to say it on what V103,
Oh no, that
not
was uh,
VWON. I mean
WVON. Yeah, the
WVON. Yeah,
first
yeah.
band, the Blues Man. That was when WVON was known as the blues station. Yeah, he used to say, "Don't let the blues. You got a hole in your soul." Yeah, and that's the expression that is tossed around Chicago for as long as I can remember.
So when you came back to Chicago after living in LA and you started working with Willie Dixon,
Mm-hmm.
where were you living in the area of the city? I imagine you were on the south side.
Yeah, I was on the south. I've always lived on the south side in Chicago. My parents were born and raised on the south side of Chicago as well.
What neighborhood exactly?
They were in Woodlawn.
Oh yeah, okay. Right by
Mm-hmm.
University of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
A lot
Mm-hmm.
of a lot of bars were right there on I think is that 57th Street that goes through like Hyde Park and
Yeah.
63rd Street and Woodlawn. That's where they said there was just a lot of entertainment down 63rd Street and Woodlawn where
Yeah.
Woodlawn
Yes.
and University of Chicago meet.
Mm-hmm. So this is kind of like coming full circle because our release concerts at University of Chicago's Logan Center, which is bordering Woodlawn and Hyde Park.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
What was Chicago like back then? For folks who don't know, who are just maybe this is like their first, they're just picking up one of your albums or a Willie Dixon or Muddy Waters, or they saw Buddy Guy and Sinners, and they're
Mm-hmm.
reading about Chicago blues and that time period that you're speaking of, like in the
Mm-hmm.
'70s when it was just r-
Oh,
roaring, right? Like, what was it like to be a part of it? What was Chicago like back then?
it was just looking back. I mean, on any given night, you might see Coco Taylor walk in. You might see Magic Slim. I mean, a lot of times, Junior Wells, Buddy Guy, Magic Slim, Coco Taylor, Hound Dog Taylor, uh, James Cotton, Big Walter Horton, Carrie Bell, Good Rockin' Charles. You
Mm.
see these guys any night, 7 nights a week. And usually it was the cover charge would be about $1 or free. And, and the music was amazing. Because these are, like second generation blues guys, who migrated from the South. And um, I'm just feel so blessed to have had that opportunity to learn.
Hmm.
Number one, because you imagine after not ever liking the blues, after the first day of hearing it, 7 years later, I'm Willie Dixon's harmonica player, one of the chief architects of Chicago blues.
I can't
So,
believe that you did.
so, so you can imagine how deep I dove into it. And some of the older guys who are still around would say, "Yeah, I remember Billy'd come in. He's stand back at the back of the club. One guy, Johnny Drummer is his name. He said, "Oh, Billy be looking all scared back there." I wasn't scared, but I was soaking it all in, and I was pretty reserved in those days. So,
Perhaps
um,
maybe just being a little respectful to where you are,
well,
right?
sure, by
Keeping
all
your
means,
mouth shut, eyes open.
by all means, and I had the utmost respect for all those wonderful men and women that were there at the time. But it was just, I called it was like Disneyland of the blues. 7 nights a week you could hear fantastic music, and as I listened to, I mean, there's a lot of players out now, but some of them are really good, but a lot of them they think they're playing the blues, but they ain't. I just got to say it like that.
Well, that's fine.
They just because I heard the real deal, and I learned from the real cats. Yeah,
Uh, when you're talking about this time when all these artists 7 nights a week, what clubs are they playing at? I imagine
the
that most of them are gone, but where were they or what were they called?
they were Teresa's Lounge, 48th in Indiana.
Oh yeah.
Buddy Guy's Checkerboard, which was on 43rd at the time. Um, the Queen Bee Lounge, which is on 74th in South Chicago, which
Wow.
years later became Lee's Unleaded, which was recently reopened as Lee's Unleaded just a few years. The Peppers Lounge, and then you just had neighborhood clubs dotted throughout the South and West Side
Mm.
that if you were in the know, you knew where to go,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
you know, uh, and you'd hear some of the most phenomenal music you could ever listen to.
Mm. What would you say separates Chicago blues from any other kind of blues in the world?
Well, I mean, Chicago blues is an extension of the blues that came from the South. I mean, Muddy Waters originally would be called a Delta blues player, and
Sure. Yep.
of course he came to Chicago, and as so many others did, and the uh, the music reflected the tone of the city. You know, it was electrified, it was exciting, it was faster, it was louder, and but with Chicago, I mean, I used to sit in with Little Walter's band, Lewis Myers, Dave Myers, and Fred Belo. And I used to close my eyes and I said, I'm going to summon up the spirit of Little Walter. I don't think it ever works, but I would do that. But Chicago Blue, it's hard to really express it in words. But when in my travels over the decades, like I said, some folks they think they're playing the blues,
Mm.
but they're not. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say it like that, but it's just
I think I know what you mean.
there's, with jazz and many other forms of music, you got strict protocols. The blues is a little more blurry, but
Hmm.
yet there are strict protocols, but they're not written, and that's you only find that out after years and years of being immersed in that environment.
Well, I think that environment is exactly the difference. And
Yeah,
from somebody listening from the outside, that
yeah,
environment that you speak of, you were in the trenches, in all those
right.
clubs on the south and west sides, and you've seen the migration of some of the clubs move north to like,
Yes,
Kingston Mines now that people might be familiar
right,
with as a blues club
right.
that has blues all the time, and you got the House of Blues downtown, which is like, like a commercialized version, I
Which
would say.
doesn't do much blues at all.
No, no, the irony, right? But they got the
Yeah,
idea. But either
yeah.
way, you mentioned the importance of Chicago blues, and we've been talking about blues this entire time, and it makes me think of like the Willie Dixon story of him welcoming him, and I can't remember who was with him, but
Mhm,
he was working at Chess Records, and they heard of this
mhm,
little band from England called the Rolling Stones, and the
mhm.
Rolling Stones wanted to come, and they wanted to play at Chess Records.
Right.
And sure enough, the Rolling Stones come up, and they're all, they're the Rolling Stones, and there's Willie Dixon, and I can't remember who else it was, but the story that I've was been told was that Willie
Mhm,
Dixon was in a shirt and tie, and he
mhm.
welcomes them, and he's helping them bring up their luggage, and they're like, the Rolling Stones are freaking out because they're like,
Yeah.
well, that's Willie Dixon, we can't have him do this. And then
Yeah,
it's Willie Dixon in the booth, and there's Rolling Stones are out there, and they
yeah,
start playing a song, and then they don't remember the words because they don't want to screw it up because it's Willie Dixon. That's Chicago blues, right?
yeah,
That's Chicago, making the Rolling
yeah,
Stones quiver in their boots in
yeah.
Chicago and on the south side of the city. I just love that story. Whether or not
Well,
it's 100% true, I don't know, but it's still a great
yeah,
story.
I've heard that and similar anecdotes like that. Well, okay, I do a lot of cross collaboration with the world music artists as well,
Hmm.
and just night before last at the Hideout in
Okay.
Chicago, I
Yeah.
played with um, Justin Adams and Mauro Durante, and they do a duo. Um, Mauro is the primarily Justin Adams is Robert Plant's still is guitarist for the last 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
and they do when Mauro, plays the violin and the what do you call the drum? It's almost like a tambourine, but he's amazing the sounds he gets out of that.
Hmm.
And we did a an interview together.
The cajon?
It, hmm?
A cajon?
Not a cajon.
Nah,
It's
cajon.
like a tambourine, but it's uh, a drum. There's a shelf drum or something like that.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
Yeah, and but it's basically a big tambourine. But the way when you mic off the mic, it sounds like a bass drum on a trap drum set. It's
Okay.
amazing. But what they do is Mara, the primary vocalist, he sings in this dialect of um, from southern Italy, where he's from, and you hear it,
Interesting.
it sounds mid-eastern. And he says, "Well, look, we're right on the tip, right next to northern Africa. We're right there, so you can hear that similar, and it's like trance music." And I came in without a rehearsal. It was wonderful. It was great. But they even said um, that, of course, it was Chicago blues directly responsible for the British rock invasion. Of course. I mean, Beatles, Stones, Led Zeppelin, uh, that's what they were listening to. They're listening to Little Walter and Sonny Boy and Wolf and Muddy.
Hmm.
And so it's really refreshing to start, like you said, Sinners. It was a great movie. And the
Yeah.
blues was all up in it, and it's like it's about time, blues start getting some attention.
Yeah, and it's great to see it outside of, for a whole generation of people who only know the blues as the Blues Brothers because of
Yeah,
the movie. And it's great what they did. They highlighted, the music, but man, there's so much more after that, or I should say
right.
before that. There was so much, the groundwork was all laid. And I get what they were doing as paying homage to the blues scene. But hearing these stories from you and the music, I mean, that's the best way. Like Chicago's soul, if you could put it in an audio form, it's the blues. It
You,
is the
yeah,
blues.
you're exactly correct. I
and
couldn't have said it better. That's a good way of expressing it.
and that's why we got to keep it alive, and we got to remind folks where we're from and where we're going and what we're all
Mm-hmm.
about, right? That's what.
I don't, mm-hmm.
And that's what we're going to see. You have a release for the record, a party at Rosa's Lounge here on the 21st of November. You're going to get up there and
No,
do your.
no. That's at University of Chicago's Logan Center.
Oh, my bad. I had it here as
Yeah.
the at Rosa's Lounge, so I apologize.
We'll perform at Rosas on December 19th.
Oh, okay. Well, then
But
we got two that we're looking forward to,
yeah,
right?
yeah. But this coming Friday, the 21st, University of Chicago's Logan Center, and it
Almost.
is a free concert,
Mm.
which I wanted it to be. I received a rather prestigious award from the Taproot Foundation,
Mm-hmm.
Taproot, which was sponsored by the Mellon Foundation. And in addition to giving each artist who was awarded a generous stipend for their own personal use, we received another a $10,000 endowment to produce a community project. So I'm using part of that money to make this concert free.
That's wonderful. And that again is what Chicago's all about. Right there.
Yeah.
What you just said, you could easily take it and done one of these and said thank you very much.
Oh,
Yeah, a la Chuck Berry back in the day with grabbing just the wad of cash before the show starts to make sure it's all good, which I get why he had to do it. But either way, good for you for giving back to the community that way. And you're giving back into the area of the city where you were, hanging out, doing your thing. I mean, that area of the city
like
there.
full circle. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's when we moved to LA when I was about 5, and where we were living isn't far from where this concert is taking place. Yep.
A lot of stories to tell Chicago has, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk with you. Mr. Branch. I really appreciate it. Where can people find information about where they can get the record, more, all your albums and everything else? Where can they go?
Well, they can go to Rosa's Lounge Records. All of the streaming platforms, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music. The Blues Is My Biography. You can either purchase a single or stream for free, and should be up. We don't have it up at my website, billybranch.com. That'll be up soon. But go to Rosa's Lounge Records.com,
Fantastic.
I believe. Yeah.